For women, our vagina is like the Rubik's Cube. We're like in there going, I don't even know what's happening. And then it changes. And then you have a baby.
Can't see it.
You can't see it. Then you got a baby comes out of you. And then it's a whole nother thing.
So let's talk about some of these sex and gender differences.
Well, first, I think about pleasure. When we think about sex, we often think about orgasms. I think about the orgasm gap. And that's the one that is the most alarming to me. That the majority of men are going to orgasm in 95% of sexual encounters. And women, and I think this is high, say they're going to orgasm about 65% of the time. This is what blows my mind. The clitoris wasn't even on the map or even in medical journals till 1997. People think it's just a little bud, right? But it actually has 12,000 nerve endings. It was 8,000 when I was in the middle of writing my book, and then I had to change it because we just discovered 4,000 more. So even this study of female sexuality is evolving right now, every day, minute by minute, month by month.
Emily, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here.
So we're going to do a little show and tell.
Okay.
We're going to talk about multi-orgasmic experiences on the male side and the female side. And you brought me a few gifts.
I did.
So can you give me a little tour? Maybe
Yes.
starting with...
Okay, so I brought you one of my, I hate to say favorite because it's like choosing your favorite child. I love sex toys. I really do. I would have to say I've tried probably every single toy on the planet in these 20 years. The Magic Wand is the OG. It's been around for over 50 years now.
Yeah.
And it
I have
used
the
to come-
original.
it come
which
plug, yeah, the big one.
you
I got
plug
good
into the wall.
vibrations, right? You
Yes,
plug into
good
the in San
vibrations,
Francisco.
right.
Yeah. In San Francisco, many years ago, it used to plug into the wall. I used to have a nightstand that I remember drilling a hole in it so it would always stay plugged in, okay? Because I love this.
It
So
shows your commitment.
I was committed. But now this is the mini. They also have the micro that looks like a keychain. They have other ones, and you can still buy the OG Magic Wand. But why I love this is because it's the first wand vibrator. It's powerful. There's just 3 settings, and you could use it as massage too. So you could use it on all different body parts. For some people, it might be a little bit strong, and in which case you could do it at a lower setting. You could put it over your underwear. You could use it over a shirt. And why I love this is because it's external, just so you know. This is external stimulation for the clitoris. And because we have all these nerve endings, as we discussed, we have 12,000 nerve endings. This is just a really great way to stimulate them. Now, it's not just your little bulb. It's the vulva. It's the inner labia, the outer labia. It's also great on a penis. So one of the big discoveries that I've made in all these years is that what I love is using vibrators on a penis. They love it too. Remember, it's their pleasurable nerve endings. And so you can use this on the shaft, on a low setting. You can use it everywhere. And what I also love is that there's this whole notion that you should only have an orgasm naturally, right, through penetration. And as we covered, that only 20% are going to have an orgasm that way. For a lot of women, it's going to take a little bit more. It's not just fingers. A mouth is great for many. And this, using a little bit of vibration along with a mouth or along with fingers or just alone, can really help a lot of people achieve orgasm.
So good. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the Magic
Special
Wand.
present. There's a charger, though. It comes charged. But that's the Magic Wand.
The mini.
Yeah, the mini. I love this one. But they still have the massive one, the micro one, the massive one, the OG. It's really fun, though, and you could use it in the perineum, too, which is the area, between the balls and for a man or for a woman, but the perineum between the anus and the vaginal opening, or the penis and the anus and the vulva, vaginal opening, or the anus and the penis, the balls, that little area in between, because if you put this on a man, it provides indirect stimulation to their prostate.
Right.
So that can be really fun too.
Very popular.
Very popular, the prostate. We can talk about that too. We've just been...
Yeah, tell us about the prostate.
Okay, let's talk about the prostate.
Yeah, because I
Okay.
would say a lot of people haven't explored.
They haven't. And this is something that also we talk a lot about culturally, how culture has shaped people's pleasure, really. And there is this notion that penetration for a man, so men have a prostate and inside their anus, and it's about an inch and a half or 2 inches inside, and it's a little bulb area that you find, by putting a finger inside or a toy. You could get a prostate toy, or you could use a finger. Sometimes if you're with a woman, maybe her fingers aren't big enough, but you could get a a prostate toy.
Do you have a favorite prostate toy?
I do. I have a few. Actually, I have a store too. It's at sexwithemily.com, and it's Shop Sex with Emily.
Okay.
Is the store.
We'll link to it.
So we have a lot of toys out there, but I would say there's one called the Vector that I really love. There's a company, I would say the Vector I love by the Vector is a really great one. This is what I'm going to bring to you next time I see you. So anyway, the prostate. So we know that, gay men typically like anal sex. That's what people think. Okay, well, if you're gay, then you like anal sex. But if I'm a straight man and I like to be penetrated, well, then it's going to say something about my sexual orientation. And so what's sad about this is that a lot of men are missing out on a whole lot of pleasure. Meaning when that is stimulated, they can have orgasms that way. They can have more pleasure, just another way to play. And so what saddens me, though, is a lot of men are like, I would never, it's a no-go, it's only for exiting. But what I found when I think about the evolution in the last 20 years, I have found that there are more straight men who are willing to experiment and to play with it.
Good.
So, yeah,
That is a
shift.
trend.
That is a trend.
What did you say, only on exiting?
Yeah, they're like, it's only for exiting. Like, only things come out of my butt.
Oh, I see.
Nothing's going inside of it.
Got it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a sexual thing. I didn't know.
No, but that's what they say. And they're like, I think it's going to mean something about, but listen, even there's some gay men who don't want to receive anal. They just want to give. So they just want to penetrate. They don't want to be penetrated. And there's something about it that feels like really too vulnerable, or it feels weak, or it means you're too feminine. I mean, I talked to a lot of my gay friends about it too. Because there's that whole notion of, are you a top, or are you a bottom? And in the gay community, you would just sort of stick with one. But what I'm seeing is a lot of gay men are sort of figuring out that it can feel good both ways. You don't have to do it one way. But again, it goes to this like vulnerability of receiving, right? Which is what women are doing all the time when we have penetrative sex. So.
So I'm curious, you're, this is a quick sidebar. Going through my medical training in San Francisco, similar to you going through your sexual training in San Francisco. It's a culture that has a lot of openness, and there's a lot of exploration. And one of the things that I learned, and I'm curious to fact check this with you, is that when you look at various couples, heterosexual couples, gay men who are coupled, lesbian women, what I was always told was that it's gay men that are having the most sex and the most satisfying sex. Why is that? Can you unpack that?
Yeah, I can. It's because I think for gay men, they have more, and oftentimes they have more testosterone. And so they have that drive, perhaps more, not always in every case. But I think also sex is more, it's easier for them to orgasm because they're the ones who are orgasming all of the time. It's more of a culture that's based more around sexual pleasure and pleasing each other. And that drive of being a man, of wanting to have sex and wanting to conquer, I think might be more prevalent in the gay community. It's more about their culture. I think it's more about, also, if you think about it, for a man, like their penis is external. Like it's their sex organ that is getting more stimulation. They're touching it all the time. They're more associated with it. They can easily have pleasure just by touching it. I mean, for women, I would say like our vagina is like the Rubik's Cube of life. Like we're like in there going, I don't even know what's happening. And then it changes. And then you have a baby.
You can't see it.
You can't see it. Then you got a baby comes out of you and then it's a whole nother thing. I mean, it is just so confusing. But for men, I think it's just much more easier to please, to have sensation, to have pleasure, to have orgasm. I think a lot of the gay culture has been sort of around sex. But if I think about biologically speaking, I would say testosterone, I would say the penis. But I mean, a lot of it could just be like cultural too, because then I also have a lot of gay friends who are like, no, I don't want sex as much anymore as my partner. But typically, I think for a lot of gay men, Grindr, the app, like I have a lot of gay friends who like they're having sex every night and they're just meeting someone. And so I would think those are some things that come to mind first, is just about like, biologically being a male, but and maybe more openness, more acceptance of like non-monogamy, and just an entire culture that is built around sex. And
it almost seems like it's more like the Netherlands.
In some ways we could learn a lot from gay men who are like, we talk about it like because this is what I love about my gay friends. they'll right away, like they're sending a dick pic. They're saying, I'm a top, are you a bottom? Like they're covering it before they meet.
And there's a neutrality to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not hidden under all this other discourse.
Like, let's talk about it. And I would love, I mean, people always ask me, is it too soon to talk about sex on the first date or on the third date? Or should I bring my toy right away? I mean, I know full well that we are not there yet. That would, because I don't think that there's enough people who are matched up to be like, if you talk about sex on the first date, someone could, in a heterosexual relationship, they might deem that to mean like if it's a woman, you're really slutty, or if it's a guy, you only want me for sex. Like there's too much there. I don't think as a culture we're ready for that. But I think if you've been listening to my podcast for 20 years, or you've been owned, or you've been in other sexual circles, and there are those communities where they're like, yeah, we talk about it. There's certain apps, there's certain dating apps that maybe are more sexually forward. But I think the more we can learn to actually talk about, maybe it's more like, I really need to feel safe with someone before I move into penetration, or I get naked with somebody, or it's really important for me to know that you've been tested, or I found that I really do like monogamy, but it's not going to happen. And, I won't feel comfortable having sex until we've established some of these things, or I really love sex toys, or I just think that there's some things we could talk about earlier on. So I think that we could learn that from the gay community. So that we talk about it early on.
Lessons to learn.
Lessons to learn, yeah.
So I had an experience with, it was a woman who taught anatomy in a yoga teacher training.
Okay.
And I can't remember her last name. Her first name was Ellen. And she was talking about the female pelvis and how the female pelvis is designed to have these waves of pleasure and kind of the transmission of fluids, kind of this transudation that happens through the erectile tissue that's in the pelvis. And that if you settle as a woman for, like a 1 minute climax, that you are selling yourself short, that there's this much deeper experience that you could be having from the waves of sexual pleasure. Does that resonate for you?
That does resonate for me. That really, really does. That is the practice of, and I love that you've done that kind of work of there's so many different ways to slice it, but like female, what do people like? It's like sacred sexuality, or female, like energetically being in touch with our feminine, and really taking the time to source our arousal, and to be like our pelvic floor. And like, if you think about our pelvic floor and you think about like the doing Kegel muscles, your doctors say, oh, if you do the pee stopping muscles that stop and start the flow of urine, like those muscles, if we tense and relax those, like that allows us to sort of do a little, like whenever you do a Kegel, I tell people I'm doing breath work with them, and you just do a little squeeze there. If everyone does that, you realize it sort of is waking up your pelvic floor. It sort of is. And so you just sort of...
Can you walk us through a little exercise? I think of it as Mula Bandha.
Yeah, Mula Bandha, exactly. Right. No, it's true though. You are... So if you are... I mean, the best way I can describe it is it's the pee stopping muscles. If you're stopping and starting the flow of urine, and men can do these too. And it's when you're about to, like, so you just do a little squeeze. So
the PC muscle.
The PC muscles, right.
Pubococcygeus.
Thank you. Pubococcygeus muscles, right.
It's so fun with you, Emily.
I know, I love it. You did. I know that you know all the stuff, and you do all the right, yeah. I just say PC muscles. So it's if you breathe in. What I love is we could do like a few breaths. We could breathe in for 5 counts. You go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we can do a little squeeze of those muscles, and then we can hold it, and then we can release it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Squeeze at the bottom. We can hold it for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then release. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can just squeeze it and hold it. I think it's more like in the holding it that's helpful. And then you could sort of tense and relax it. It sort of could help wake up that sexual energy. Because a lot of us we are very disconnected. And while a vibrator, and a lot of people I know who are body workers or somatic sexologists, they don't love vibrators. So I know that there's a school of thought that vibrators, that we should always have these kind of orgasms like we're talking about, sourcing our own energy, moving our pelvic floor, and kind of that back and forth, like the mula bandha as we go, as we're moving our, like all of these practices of women of getting in touch with the pelvic floor and then sort of moving in a circular motion, moving to one side and then to the other side. How do I explain? Like an undulation is also another way to sort of start to wake up all of this energy that we have and connect more to our sexual energy, because for a lot of women, we are very disconnected. It's like we don't ever pay attention to what's between our legs. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to think about it. And then we get in the bedroom and we're like, how should I suddenly be ready for sex when all day long I've been in my head? And so I think the practices of breathing into your pelvic floor, sourcing that erotic energy, and then letting it build through breath and maybe some light touch. I also brought you some lube. This is from Orgasm. I just love this brand. It's water-based. It has like CBD in it too, and it can help with blood flow, but it's just a really fun
Thank you
lube.
so much.
But any lube is going to help, because I love adding lube to any sexual situation, because we're not necessarily, our clitoris isn't self-lubricating if we start there. So you could also start with like your fingers. You can start massaging like your pelvic floor, your pubic mound, the area right above your vaginal opening too. Like that area is also sensitive, because that's indirect stimulation to our internal clitoral nerves. So just like massaging ourselves, slowing down, and then the process of breathing in and moving and tensing and relaxing is a really interesting way for women to start to sort, and moving and dancing and starting to source their sexual, let the sexual energy start to build. And a lot of it can come through breath and through movement. And you tell what's been your experience with it? I'm often speaking more about the clinical ways of it, but I think that every woman would benefit from taking a yoga course or working with some practitioners or that could help them be more embodied with this.
I love how you taught the breath work with the PC muscle. I tend to overcomplicate it. So what I tend to do, and I don't think you were doing this when you were teaching, I tend to, kind of think about it as an elevator where I'm squeezing the PC muscle and I'm coming to the maximum of the squeeze at the top of the elevator, like floor 5. And then I'm slowly releasing it back again. And so I'm doing that with the breath work. But part of what happens is that I've had 2 vaginal births, when you push a small basketball through your vagina, what tends to happen is that you can get the squeeze pretty good. And then when you release it, it's like all at once.
Yeah. That it changes over time. It really does.
It changes over time.
Older. I never had kids, and I still have my muscles are still weak, and I do all of the things. So it's hard. It can be. So yeah, sometimes it's just a quick way to just tense the muscles really quickly and hold it. Then you're really sort of it jump starts it. But the thing about sexual energy in women and in men, but for women especially, like you are sort of sourcing it, like the oming or the just letting it build, like letting that energy build without the goal of an orgasm is sort of, I keep saying sourcing your sexual energy. I feel like there's other language to use. I'm trying to think.
Well, I really
else.
like that language.
Yeah. So it's like you're sourcing it, you're building it, your arousal is expanding. Like we talk about widening the window of the lens. You're sort of expanding it. And that's when you bring in breath work and you're moving your body and you're just sort of holding and relaxing. Like I love the practice too of like breathing into your pelvic floor. Like I know our breath doesn't necessarily go to our pelvic floor, but just like a deep breath in, and then you're like when you get to the top, you're squeezing, and then that's what I'm releasing. So you're actually picturing it there, and you're just sort of picturing it moving up and down and connecting to it.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
There was I'm perimenopausal, and so I can't remember these people's names. There's Ellen, and then there's Betty. So I remember Betty.
Betty Dotson?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about her?
Yes, she sat around with magic wands with women in circles masturbating together.
Right. And she had her little barbell.
Uh-huh.
Right? Where you lift the barbell.
Oh, I think that's somewhere. Oh, Did she do that too? I never
I
saw
thought she
Betty
did.
Dodson. She just passed, I think.
Yes.
But I never did the barbell because she had such strong PC muscles.
Well, she would teach women how to do this kind of rock and roll orgasm with
Yes.
lifting the barbell and then dropping
Mhm.
it back down again and
Yes.
rocking their pelvis.
Yes, rocking your pelvis, or I've also heard it called the lotus lift, where you're rocking back and forth because then you are also you're also it's kind of stimulating your perineum muscles and you're just attached. Yeah, you can put your hand in your vulva and vulva cupping and go back and forth. I love that practice too. It's awakening. It's awakening and getting in touch with the entire part of our body that is literally sacred. How we give birth, it's where our creative energy, our sexual energy, it's all there, right? But then you see too in your pregnant women who have PCOS, women who have pain during sex. There's a lot of diseases that happen, or a lot of what is it? Not disease, but like a lot of conditions that happen for women. There's a lot of different reasons we say why, but I think that there's so much tensing, and if we are somebody who has had trauma, we hold on to things, we've developed a lot of conditions that doesn't allow us to at all make friends with our entire source of our pleasure and our.
This is a beautiful point because there's a way. I mean, I've learned a lot about armoring and the ways that we constrict our bodies in response to trauma that we've experienced. And being able to melt some of those things and kind of work within your window of tolerance to get to learn about your body and source your, what did you say?
Source your arousal, or source your sexual energy.
I really like
source
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is such an important part of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to shift to multiple orgasm.
All right, let's go.
So tell us about your experience with it. How do you coach your clients with it? I always ask when I teach a workshop about multiple orgasm.
Do you? You're teaching workshops about multiple?
No, I don't teach the workshops. I feel like I have to be consistently having multiple orgasms to teach, but I ask.
That's
I always ask.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing, is that most women, I hate to say every woman, but most women are multi-orgasmic, could be multi-orgasmic. They just don't know that. They haven't really tried, or they're like, I have one orgasm and I'm out. I'm happy with that. But our refractory period is a lot shorter than a man's. It's a lot quicker, meaning the period of time it takes to have one orgasm and then have another. It's a refractory period. And
so we're biologically wired to be multiple orgasmic.
We are wired. I mean, this is the beauty of being a woman. The clitoris is the only job, as we always said, is for pleasure. That's really the only use for it. It exists for pleasure. And so we might as well kind of milk that. We got that going for us, right? We might as well figure out how to play that instrument in our body. And so when we talk about yes, you could use a vibrator, or you could just hit it. A lot of women just I put my finger to my pants, I can do it in 3 minutes. That is great. That's sort of did you call it the clitoral sneeze? Right? So that is, I'm not knocking that orgasm at all. But the more the deeper, more embodied orgasm, that's more about waking up our entire pelvic floor, waking up all of those nerve endings, becoming completely online with our sexuality, is the practice of multi-orgasm. So for a lot of women, an easy way to learn this, or a more simple, step by step, is it really helps to have a clitoral orgasm first. So do that however you do it, knock it out. I had my first multiple orgasm by myself. A lot of the stuff that I've learned was alone. I don't want the pressure of someone watching me. Are you there yet? Did you do it? And so I had my orgasm first. And the reason why that's so important is because when you have a clitoral orgasm, even if you're just, and for many women, it's kind of rubbing their clitoris, the little bulb that we see, which is also attached to all the other nerve endings internally. But for the sake of that, let's just say it's more of the external rubbing of that area, or touching, or moving your fingers in a circular motion, or tapping, or that's how what that does is, once we have an orgasm there, so now we have this wave. Now we have some more blood flow. We have some more stimulation. And so it's sending blood to it's waking up all of those nerve endings. So it's kind of going internally to the internal clitoral nerves or the G spot or the G area. Again, very understudied. There's like debate. I'm telling you, there's nerve endings there that feel good when stimulating. So you can almost feel it perceptibly if you are doing a mindful practice. You're like, okay, so now you have that orgasm. And then I want you to take your hands away or take the vibrator away and just like take a few deep breaths and start to do some of that pelvic rub, that what did you call it? The moving back and forth, the rock. Do some rocking, do some cupping, do some rocking, and just sort of remove your pelvis back and forth, or do some swaying side to side, like kind of undulating, and as an undulating of your pelvic floor. And you'll start to feel it. You're starting to feel that energy move and rise throughout your body, so it's expanding. So you'll feel like that you're actually not, even if you, at that moment, like, I had one, it feels amazing, just take a breath and then breathe into it again. And then you can start sort of bringing your fingers back or bringing the toy back. And then you can even, for many, it might feel good now to put a finger inside or put a toy inside, because, if for a lot of women, they have that the G spot, and for women, it's the prostate. Some people call it the female prostate, which is actually I don't know there's a lot of people who, it is sort of the prostate internally. And so you'll start that starts to swell because you've just had this orgasm and you're aroused now. I mean, cut to how sex mostly happens is you're making out for a while. Maybe your partner's hand goes up your shirt, they rip off your clothes, and there's a penis inside of you. Well, the reason why you're not feeling anything is you were not aroused, you were not turned on, but this is the coming online for sex. And so now you have blood flow, you have arousal, you're in touch with it. And then when you put your finger inside, you might start to feel that bulb inside of you, that area it sort of rises a little bit, like might feel like a peach pit or a rough area, because it's sort of, aroused. What's the other word? It's sort of engorged. And so now you feel that, and you can just probably start applying pressure to that with your finger and start to see like how that feels. And then that area, you'll start to feel, you could still be rubbing on the outside or teasing yourself or playing with your nipples. Remember, the same parts of the brain are stimulated from your nipples and your clitoris. So they're all online speaking to the same areas. So maybe you have a vibrator on your nipple, or you're just kind of massaging different parts of your body, but your finger's inside too. And you're starting to feel like if you apply pressure to that area, or tapping or pressure, then you might start to feel a wave coming on again of another kind of orgasm. And then you might have a blended orgasm. You could bring a toy back to it. The thing that I love about the magic wand is if you apply this to your pubic mound, the area above the vaginal opening, for many women, that also is sort of you can have a finger inside and do that all of that is just helping it all come online. You might squirt, female ejaculation. Magic wand can be responsible for that too, it can be your hand in that. And so really, this is just the practice of like, and it might not happen right away, but your body, you will see once you kind of come off that first orgasm and use breath. So the simple tactic is just to breathe, to go slow, and to start to exploring other parts of your body.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I should
skip dinner and go home.
Yeah, skip dinner and disappear for a little while. And I love also how the cadence of your language sort of tracks with multiple orgasm. It's awesome.
I know I'm so not linear sometimes, so it can be a lot, but I'm just explaining it in real time.
So good.
Thank you.
So good.
Thank you.
You have such a gift.
Oh my God, thanks.
So even though I feel like women need more help, I do want to talk a little bit about multiple orgasm for men.
Okay.
And how I wasn't born with a male body, so I don't know about this, but separating ejaculation from orgasm. So what's your experience with this?
Well, what I love is that it's kind of trending now. There's like a lot of men who are like semen retention, I'm not going to have an orgasm. And a lot of men, like, I think it was in that book. This might be wrong. Like, that book that all the bros read, like Think and Grow Rich, and it's been around forever. I think it's like chapter 7 talks about semen retention. I don't know when that book came out, like 20-some years ago. I think that's the right book. But anyway, the point is, a lot of wellness men and just people in the world, maybe it's like YouTube videos, they're like, oh, if I don't ejaculate, it's going to give me more mental clarity, more focus. It's going to help with a lot of other things in my life. My business is going to help me make more money. So for whatever reason, a lot of men are now coming online to, I'm not going to ejaculate. And so there's semen retention, and they're like, just save your ejaculate. And the truth is, every time a man ejaculates, he is losing his chi. So this goes back to like a Taoist Ching. Yes. a Taoist practice where semen retention and sort of orgasming without ejaculation where we first learned about this, like thousands of years ago, right? So the Taoist practice of that's more of like an energetic orgasm, but going back to the semen retention thing. So I think a lot of men are like, I'm not going to orgasm, I'm not going to orgasm. And they're realizing when they don't, that they do have clarity and they have more energy. And this is what I'm kind of hearing. But the other part of that is learning to orgasm without ejaculation. So I think a lot of these guys are like having orgasms finally, and they realize that it feels depleting and they don't want to waste their orgasms and all their ejaculate. But the practice of orgasm without ejaculation, I do have like I've been with men who practice this. And it's pretty amazing. Like, yes, it's possible, but it's really hard to get guys on board with trying to orgasm and not ejaculate. But like everything else, like every other mindfulness practice, it is a practice, but it's basically and this is how they explain it, like Taoism, is that you're masturbating, and it's sort of like edging yourself. You're masturbating until you'll feel like you're about to go over, and then you stop it, right? So you're masturbating, you're getting aroused, and then you just sort of you stop touching yourself or whatever you're doing, and then you breathe. This is your own practice to do on your own. You breathe in and you take that chi or that energy that's coming up, and it's supposed to go through your back, over your head, down to the front, and you start to circulate that energy around, and you're just breathing. So you're taking your sexual energy and you're moving it through your body and you're cycling it through. And eventually with this practice, men can learn to have that same feeling of orgasm from the practice of not ejaculating, move through their body, so they're actually having an orgasm without ejaculation. So again, guys I know who have done that have taken a lot of years of practice or just a lot of concentrated practice. And it's possible. The refractory period, a lot of men, as you get older, like I remember my boyfriend when I was 18, he kept having orgasms. It was really, he's like, you have them a lot, you get ejaculating. But as you get older, sometimes it is harder to come to have another orgasm. And that means your refractory period is just getting, longer and longer. And so this practice, if you source this energy, you could have 27. That's amazing. And my experience is that, men who commit to this work have incredible, incredible pleasure. And then their partners, women, can have like 200 and something orgasms. So I think it's I always forget the exact number, but it's like 220, or this is the tantric practices for women. They can have a lot. So
aspirational goals.
Yes.
So Emily, I hope this is the beginning of many conversations together. Yeah. I so appreciate the time with you. You have such a gift and clarity about sexuality, and I so appreciate the way that you teach. I love your book, Smart Sex. I'm going to link to it in the show notes. Any final thoughts as we start to wrap up?
Well, I appreciate all of this thoughtful conversation. I do. I just think if anyone, we just covered so much. So my thoughts are just like, we're never done learning. Like, it's okay to start today, wherever you're at. And you can always have it could be the first day of the rest of your sex life, just listening today. So, it's never too late. We can always, we still have our bodies, we have our hands, we have our minds. Like, it's available to everybody. So let's get to it.
That's beautiful. I feel like your book is focused on what does it mean to be a great lover and how do I become a better lover? And I just feel like that's such an important service, whether you're in a monogamous relationship that's long-term or you've got some other arrangement. Yeah. So thank you so much for your work. Thank you for being with us today.
Welcome. One thing I would want to say, if this is I have this membership I just launched. Should I talk about that here? Or just want to put that in the...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I also want to say if people want to learn more, I did launch a new community called Smart SX. And it's a place for people to come together and learn from myself. I teach every week and other experts in the field, so people can have a community, people on board to help them, have the best sex of their lives this year and always.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.